We are joined by Eduardo Gamarra. He is a tenured professor in Latin American politics at FIU. We understand, Professor, that the government has asked people to come into the streets, show support here for the government here in Venezuela, but that government is unraveling quickly.
Well, we think it's unraveling quickly. And the reality is that with Nicolás Maduro gone, there is no, let's call him a head of state, right? The vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, there are even rumors that she's in Russia and that she's not even in Venezuela, unconfirmed rumors. But she's the one who has been saying that she is in control. The other person whom we've heard from is Diosdado Cabello, the most important ranking military man inside the regime. So we also don't know how stable the military is, whether the military is breaking into factions or whether it's solidly behind Delcy Rodriguez now. So I think the next few hours, maybe days, and maybe weeks, will still have this uncertainty. And I think the real question is whether what the U.S. did last night is sufficient to create a regime transition.
You know, just a little while ago, we saw the video that you see up there right now. That's supporters of Nicolás Maduro. People call for them to go out in the streets and protest, say you can't take our president from us. Meanwhile, it's just very interesting to see. I was speaking to a friend of mine in Venezuela this morning who was saying people who are opposed to Nicolás Maduro, they're staying inside and they're staying quiet.
Yeah. Well, probably that is the wise thing to do because, in fact, the security forces are still responding to the regime, and they're still out in the streets, and they're still mobilizing. The so-called colectivos are still out there trying to discipline people. And so because of that uncertainty, those who oppose Nicolás Maduro, which, by the way, is probably the majority of Venezuelans, but they don't have arms, they don't have the tools and the infrastructure to be able to resist what, again, going back to what I said earlier, what is the military doing right now, and where is it going to go? Which side is it going to support?
That's the big question, right? Will this become military rule, especially if you don't have the president? Maduro is not in country. The U.S. has said they have taken him out and his wife out of country. You just mentioned that the vice president may even be in Russia. And if the military is kind of stepping up now, what does that mean for the people there on the ground in Venezuela? Give us some background as to what this possible, if they do come into power, this military rule could look like.
Well, Venezuela has already had a very repressive regime, really for the better part of the last 2 decades. And so there are numerous political prisoners right now. There are military people who are in prison as well. So what you can expect is greater repression, more targeted repression. And so anybody going out and protesting or let's say celebrating would be a target of those trying to consolidate in this power vacuum that has taken place. You know, we've done several simulation exercises that kind of mirror what happened this morning. And in every exercise that we conducted, the situation was chaotic in the aftermath, because that power vacuum is very large right now, and somebody is going to have to fill it. And again, that's where if this uncertainty continues for a while, it could lead to a very chaotic situation, in not just in Caracas, but throughout the country.
Professor, I want to jump in really quick, and we just have a little bit of time left with you, but do you think, and just looking at this on the whole, that the U.S. would have struck like this if they didn't have an idea in mind of who maybe they would want to put in power there, or support, if you will?
Well, look, I think the military action that the U.S. took there is really extraordinary from an execution perspective. I don't think it could have gone any better. In fact, if you contrast it to what we did in Panama 30 years ago, you know, it took us 3 weeks to get Manuel Noriega. We got Maduro right off the bat. So from that perspective, this is an impeccable military operation. The problem now, however, is that the U.S. is largely committed to no nation building, no long-term intervention. In fact, most of the president's political base does not want these long-term commitments. But the scenario we're seeing unfold right now, in fact, calls for long-term U.S. commitment.
All right, Professor, we appreciate your insight today. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. And of course, I'm sure we're going to be checking in with you throughout the morning. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.